Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my take on the Prank Kids deck. I haven't played this deck since pretty much it came out and since we got Roxy's. So I wanted to rebuild this deck just to show you guys what this deck is like currently. So without saying all too much, let's go ahead and jump on into it. Starting off, of course, we do run 3 of each of the Prank Kids monsters. I'll go over in just a second what each of these do. But pretty much all of these have one effect in common, and that is if they're used for a link or a fusion of a Prank Kids monster, then you can special summon one Prank Kids monster from the deck with a different name, and then you can apply each of their effects. Lancey's effect is when it's used for either a fusion or link material. You can then burn your opponent for 500 points of damage. Dropsies says that when it's used as a material, you gain 1000 life. Fancies can pretty much Foolish Burial a Prank Kids card, and Roxy's just says banish one card from your hand and draw one card. So just really good, pretty generic. I don't think I need to explain all of these too much. One of the main things, of course, that I will say real quick is that Roxy's is a level 4 and Dropsies is a level 2. These come up because we do run a few Xyz monsters in the extra deck, nothing really too much. Continuing on, we do run a bunch of hand traps. We do run 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, 3 copies of Droll and Rockbird, as well as 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Of course, I don't need to go into any of these, y'all know what these do, but I do like this hand trap lineup. It's not too much, so you won't brick on all of them. However, it's still really, really powerful. Continuing on, we do run 3 copies of Prank Kids Place. Prank Kids Place just says that when this card is activated, you can add 1 Prank Kids monster from your deck to your hand. This card also says that once per turn, if you fusion summon a Prank Kids monster except during the damage step, you can have all monsters you control gain 500 attack. And then if you link summon, you can make all your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack. So that's just really powerful. Of course, we do run the 1 copy of Terraforming to be able to search that out. But then moving on into the fusion spells, we do run 3 copies of Prank Kids Pandemonium. Pandemonium is literally just a quick play polymerization for this deck. That just allows you to fusion summon any Prank Kids monster. And then of course we do run 3 copies of polymerization, because you can't have a fusion deck without polymerization. And then I do run the 1 copy of instant fusion, and I'll show you guys why we run that in just a moment. Continuing on, we do run 2 copies of Prank Kids Pranks. This card just says that you can discard 1 Prank Kids card, and then you can special summon 1 Prank Kids token that is a Pyro, Fire, level 1, attack 0, defense 0, but it cannot be tributed. And then during your end phase, you can target 3 Prank Kids cards in your graveyard, except Prank Kids Pranks, shuffle all 3 into the deck, and then draw 1 card. So pretty much this card is your main recycler of the deck, so you're going to go through your links and your fusions pretty quickly, as well as, of course, your materials. So this just allows you to be able to recycle some of them. That's why I don't run, like, more than 2 copies of any of the Prank Kids cards, because we can always just recycle them with pranks. Don't think I need to go into that any more than I already did, but this card is a definite really good card at 2. I might run it at 3 sometime, I don't know. But moving on into consistency, I do run 3 copies of Pot of Prosperities. Pot of Prosperities, I'm not sure is the best card in this instance. I've seen people play like 2 copies of Desires and maybe a copy of Upstart Goblin. But I just like Pot of Prosperity even more due to the fact of you get to pick one of the 6 cards, or 3 or 6, and be able to add that to your hand, and it doesn't lock you into out of special summoning like a card like Pot of Duality. And then to wrap up the spells, we do run 1 copy of Call by the Grave because you do want to be able to resolve your Prank Kids cards. I wish that this card was either at 3 or banned, but honestly, there's nothing else you can really do about that. And then to wrap up the deck, we do run 2 copies of Prank Kids Plans. This card says that during your main phase, you can activate this effect. Immediately after this effect resolves, you can link summon 1 Prank Kids link monster using Prank Kids monsters you control as the material. Then this card also says that when an opponent declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, shuffle any number of Prank Kids cards from your graveyard into your deck, and then if you do, that attacking monster loses 100 attack for each card shuffled until the end of this turn. You can only activate each effect once per turn. This card is just really good, just that way you can be able to link on your opponent's turn, and as it said, if it does have a graveyard effect, that's also pretty good on its own. Continuing on into the extra deck, as I said, I don't run more than 2 of any of the links or fusions, because really you don't need to. So for this, you do run 2 copies of Dodo-Doodle-Doo, as well as 2 copies of Bow-Wow Bark. Each of these cards have pretty much the same effect of where you can tribute them to special summon 2 of your prank kids from the graveyard. However, they also do have their own effects. Like Dodo-Doodle-Doo has to activate that effect on your turn, while Bow-Wow Bark you can activate on your opponent's turn. But the main difference is Dodo-Doodle-Doo, when it's summoned, you can search for any prank kids card, which is just also really good. And then Prank Kids Bow-Wow Bark increases the attack of any Prank Kids monster that it points to by 1000 attack. I don't run the Link 4, mainly because I don't think that it'll come up nearly as often as like it used to. But even back then it was slow, and I still think it's slow to this day. But honestly, I like this lineup right here for the links. So continuing on into the fusion monsters, we do run 2 copies of Rocket Ride and 1 copy of Weather Washer. Only reason why we run 1 copy of Weather Washer is this is only activatable on your opponent's turn. So just like the links, these both have their own separate effects, but their main effect is that you can tribute themselves to be able to special summon 2 prank kids from your graveyard, as long as they're not fusions. So pretty much this one you would activate on your turn, as the Weather Washer you'd only do it on your opponent's turn. Each of them of course have their own separate effects. So the first effect of the Prank Kids Rocket Ride is that you can decrease this monster's attack by 1000, and this card can attack your opponent direct, which is also just not really very useful in the deck, but it can be good for a little bit of poke damage. And then Weather Washer says that if your Prank Kids monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. So this one allows you to just attack direct, and this one makes it to where your attacking cards are unaffected. We do run 2 copies of the boss monster Prank Kids Battle Butler. I don't know what's going on with this copy, but if y'all can see, it doesn't have any of the text on the top, which I think is just kind of interesting. Not important for what this does, but... So the main effect of Battle Butler is that you can tribute this monster to destroy all monsters your opponent controls, kind of like a Raigeki kind of effect. And this card also says that if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can target 1 non-fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it, so therefore you can kind of just get your start again. Of course, this deck we can't play Meow Meow Moo because it was banned, and I never actually got the chance to play it before it got banned. But moving on, just to the extra cards that we run in the extra deck, I do run 1 copy of IP Masquerena, as well as a copy of Nightmare Unicorn, so that way you can go IP Masquerena, and then on your opponent's turn, go into Unicorn to be able to just disrupt their plays from what they're trying to do. Then I do run 1 copy of Apollousa, both Goddess as well as Access Code, of course just to set up negates and be able to try to OTK, because you just run, you run Darks, you run Winds, and you also run Fire. So just being able to run these to go into your Access Code just allows you to be able to pop 3 cards on the field. And of course, mainly you want to go into Unicorn before you go into Talker to make it into a 5300 attack monster. I don't think I really need to explain these cards anymore, because honestly these cards are very well used in the current meta. Moving on into the Xyz monsters, I do run 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. That's why I did bring up the fact that Roxy's is a level 4. As well as 1 copy of Totally Awesome. Not only is Totally Awesome summonable by Dropsies, Dropsies is actually a Aqua as well. So you can just tribute a Dropsies that you have in field instead of having to tribute your Totally Awesome, which is just really, really powerful. But that's really going to be about it for the deck profile, guys. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Comment down below what you guys think of the deck profile, as well as what you guys would do to change it and make it even better. And if you guys give me a good enough tip, I will shout out your comment in the next updated list. But really, that's going to be about it for the video. See ya.